friends. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fort Worth Roots. This is a Fort Worth podcast about our community's creators. You can find us on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or on our website at fortworthroots.com. Quick shout out to our friends at Squad STX. Squad STX is an overnight primitive camping alternative to programs like Boy Scouts. You can find them at squadstx.com. This is a great opportunity for those of you with boys between the ages of 10 and 16. This takes place down in Glen Rose at Dinosaur Valley, and all the information can be found at squadstx.com. Get your kids outside. We are going to have a 100th episode release party. I don't have any details right now. Well, why am I telling you at all then? I just want you to put this in the back of your mind that we're going to have something fun and exciting and specific to the Fort Worth Roots podcast coming up. And as soon as I can get any kind of details together for you, I will. But I'm working on the venue and all the other details that go into something like this. We got some time. You know, this is episode 87, so got a few weeks to prepare for this. I'll let you know as the information comes in. Our guest today plays at the Post every Tuesday from 6 to 9. He also plays at Boomer Jacks every Wednesday, but different locations all over the place, all over DFW. So you'll have to look into that. This is a very talented musician that plays many different instruments, including an instrument that we talk about in today's episode called a Melodica. He's the frontman for the local DF band Retrophonics, and you can find our guest on Instagram as ChrisWatsonMusic. This episode is a direct result of one of our followers hitting me up and telling me, hey, this guy would be a great addition to the Fort Worth Roots podcast. Can you have him on? So if you have somebody that you think would be a great addition to the Fort Worth Roots podcast, hit me up. It really is that simple. Media at fortworthroots.com and tell me who you think would be the next amazing guest on the show. And before we start the show, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been subscribing to the YouTube channel. People have been hitting us up on Instagram, all the different social media platforms. I see you guys subscribing to the show, and I appreciate it. I actually went and I looked at the Apple podcast analytics, and I was blown away by some of the stuff I saw on there. Just recently, I think Apple must have updated the way that they provide analytics to the people that make these shows, the podcast, the music, and it's a little more informative now. And I can see that about half of my listeners are coming from the Apple Podcast platform. So anyway, thank you very much for subscribing to these different channels and to the social media platforms. It does actually help the show, so thank you very much. All right, that's enough out of me. Thank you for being here. Give it up for our guest today and our new friend, Mr. Chris Watson. Let's start the show. Where's your gig at tonight?
I'm at the Post over on Race.
I really like that place. I haven't seen a performance yet. I took the bike out one day and just kind of went cruising to different venues that have been brought up during the show, and the Post was on the list. So I popped in there, had a drink, got to talk to I can't remember his name, but a really nice guy. Gave me a couple of free drink coupons to come back by. So nice. I need to catch a show out there pretty soon. Tomorrow's a school day, so. I don't. What time is your gig?
6 to 9.
Man, I might be able to come catch that.
Yeah.
Provided the rain doesn't interfere. I'm on a motorcycle right now, so that's my primary mode.
Yeah, I think it's kind of off and on right now, so maybe not this week. But normally I'm out on the patio in that little courtyard out front.
Yeah.
Most Tuesdays. So.
Well, Chris, usually bringing guests on the Fort Worth Roots podcast is a product of me reaching out to somebody and bringing them on the show, or somebody from that guest band, or somebody reaching out to me and saying, hey, you should interview our guitarist or whatever. That's usually how that happens. But this time, a listener of the Fort Worth Roots podcast suggested that I reach out to you.
Okay.
And so that's what started all this. And so then I started to try to do some homework on you. But like you said, you're in the process of revamping your website, and you're doing some back-of-house work right now. So you were a little bit of a mystery. I couldn't find you too easily. So I had to do some calling around and find out a little more about Chris Watson.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But now that I know who you are, I've got your face, I could probably find you on Instagram and all the other social medias, but there are a lot of Chris Watsons out there. It's like Andrew Turner, there's a lot of us.
Yeah, it's a common name for sure. I've had to fight that in running a band just using my name for so long, because it was Chris Watson Band for a long time.
Okay.
And the reason I had to put the word band on the end of it, which I didn't really want to do, was because of that. There was already X amount of Chris Watsons doing fairly well, so I would be just at the bottom of this list. One of them, the most popular one that I've been battling forever, is this older gentleman that records nature sounds.
Okay.
Like for B-roll for movies.
I'm going to be checking this out.
And he licenses them to movies and stuff. And he's sold so much and done so well in his career that obviously his stats are better than everyone else's. So he's at the top of the list.
Right.
If you just Google in the music websites. So I put the word band on it because there wasn't a Chris Watson band.
Had to, yeah.
So I didn't really like that ever. And so finally, when that band finally ran its course, and I got to change it to Retrophonics, I was just kind of relishing coming up with something interesting that didn't have my name attached to it, because I was tired of that. Like I wanted to be able to separate that from because I do a lot of other stuff. Like I do gigs under not Retrophonics, you know what I mean, under my name. Yeah, and it's other stuff. It's not the same thing that I do with this band, so. You know, I wanted to be able to separate them without just my name being attached to it at all times.
Yeah, tricky waters, trying to market yourself individually as well as your band. So got to find a way to differentiate.
Yeah, and if you experience any level of success on a scale of 1 to 100, you have an unspoken obligation to the people who have developed a fanship for you to not pull a 90-degree turn to the left out of nowhere and stop doing the thing that they like. You know, you want to have a cohesive thing for the people who enjoy it. Yeah. You know, you don't want to turn them off with just something out of left field. Yeah. So being able to separate the two keeps the stagnation away, I think.
All comes down to branding.
Yeah. 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 And picking and choosing your moments on shows and whatever. Releases and whatever.
It's kind of an uncomfortable part of the musical journey.
Yeah, well, when you're doing it all yourself, you have to do all the things.
Right.
You know, if for someone that's, you know, way, way bigger, you know, that's on the self-sustainable level, they have a team of people that do that for them, and they don't have to worry about it.
Let me jump into these listener-asked questions here. I've got a comment here that you were just absolutely incredible on the keyboard. And they wanted to know kind of the meat and potatoes behind that. Like, when did you start? What set you apart from other people on the keyboard? Because it does seem like you've got an edge that most musicians, and by the way, the person that's asking this is, I think he plays like 20 instruments. So so it's really something coming from this guy to say Chris Watson is a killer on the keyboard.
Well, I started playing piano, I think I was like 5. My parents put me in piano lessons.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was classical piano lessons, and it was with this sweet, sweet old lady down the street. I guess she wasn't down the street, but she was close. And my parents would take me and my sister there. My sister was 4 years older than me. And I didn't like the classical music. Okay. I was 5, so give me a break. Don't email me about it. Right. I didn't like the classical music. But I enjoyed the making of the music, like the creation and the tactile. You know, I like that. So I took to it. I learned how to read the music on the paper and whatever at a remedial level. You know, as a kid. Right. And then I did that for probably a couple of years. My sister dropped out immediately. It wasn't for her. She's way more whichever. It's left brain, right brain, whichever one is more pragmatic. She's on the other side. She's a doctor.
Oh, awesome.
She's an orthopedic surgeon. Yes, yeah, so she it's to her advantage for sure. Anyway, so then I stopped doing the lessons because I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't enjoy the music. So as a kid, I grew up in Pilot Point, which is way up north, on a quarter horse ranch community. And my parents driving me and my sister around, they would only allow us to listen to 98.7 K-Love. And back then, I was born in 86, so back then, early 90s, K-Love would have been, you know, Hall & Oates, Stevie Wonder, Al Green, that era of music, and it was a lot of soul music for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it was on this like 150 song playlist that they just repeated ad nauseum.
We might have had the same parents. I mean, I went through that too. So
yeah. So it turned out at some point my parents realized that I was like singing along with these songs. And they were surprised that I knew them, but it was all the only thing we listened to. Of course I knew them. The playlist was so short. And so my parents kind of were testing the waters of what they thought I would like musically. They bought me, the next thing they bought me was a drum kit. Like I got into playing drums.
Brave.
Yeah, which is I commend them tremendously for that. That's so uncommon. But you know, it was the rhythm of the music, that soul music. For me, it all ends up boiling down to Stevie Wonder and Donny Hathaway. Really, that's the secret. If you pull the veil back, just do that. Just emulate them.
Awesome.
So that's really the whole thing. But you know, it started with drums for me. To getting into just playing along with that stuff, putting it on a Walkman, you know, put the tape in the Walkman thing, and it would be on my hip, and I would just be banging away. And my parents never discouraged it, which that's amazing. I don't know that I would do that
with your kids.
Yeah, with the kids that I don't have. Yeah. I don't even have kids, and I'm saying that I probably wouldn't do that. So I stopped playing piano at that point. I didn't play for a long time.
Just completely dropped it.
Yeah, because I was playing drums.
Right.
And then when I was about 10 or 11, I got a full-size guitar. And then I got way into guitar, and that became the main thing. But by then, I was into what I was into. And it was like backbeat, like funky jazz music, like John Scofield, Robin Ford, records that they had put out, and a lot of Stevie Wonder, obviously, and all of the surrounding, you know, Bill Withers and Al Green.
That reminds me of something I heard putting notes together for you today. Apparently, you've got a nickname, the Fort Worth Funk Soul Brother.
I don't know.
Have you not heard that before?
I have not heard that. I don't know.
It's floating around out there.
Okay, well, that's okay. That's one of the better nicknames I've had in my life, for sure.
Well, you can tell us all the bad ones, too, if you want.
Yeah. We'll see.
I kind of off-rolled your story there. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so then I was into guitar, and I was into funk and jazz and R&B, and, you know, that took me through high school. And I was into other stuff, too, but it always came back to that. And then when I was in high school, I started going to blues jams with my dad, which is like an open forum sit-in kind of thing where like a group of people, it's like a house band that plays for a little while, and then they get groups up of people that are just complete strangers. Like, okay,
open mic,
you play drums, you play guitar, you play bass, you play guitar, you know, and oftentimes people don't know each other.
And where was this?
This was in Dallas, but this happens everywhere. I mean, it's a fairly common thing in the blues world specifically, which is kind of an antiquated world at this point. Which is why it's not something that maybe that a lot of people know that happens.
It'll be back. Jazz is too classic. It's too good to fade away.
Yeah.
It might. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's a very popular genre right now.
No.
Which is weird because it's incredible, but
yeah.
Jazz comes up a little bit every once in a while on the Fort Worth Roots podcast, and it is strange because it is in a category completely of its own.
Yeah.
And you find it kind of creeping around into other genres. Like there might be some jazz influence to it, but
absolutely,
as far as full-on jazz scene, that's not so common.
Yeah, well, there isn't really a scene cultivated for that here. There are a lot of really, really tremendous jazz players here.
Did you ever check out that restaurant? Jazz. It was right there on 30. It's called Buttons.
Of course, yeah. I played there a bunch of times.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hated to see that thing go. I only probably went there maybe 4 or 5 times, but it was such a unique environment.
Totally. It's incredibly unique. So then anyway, I didn't get back into the piano for a long time after that. All of that to say. But when I got back into it, I had already really established what I liked. And I had established my own kind of version of that through playing guitar. And studying music, pretty aggressively throughout my teens and 20s. And so when I got into the keys, it was really easy to find what I was looking for because I had the ideas already there. The theory was already there.
Sure.
It was just the dexterity of my hands, figuring out how to create the sound that I had in my head. And it was a lot of listening to other people and watching other keyboard players that I liked, watching their hands and looking at their voicings and how they married that 2-5-1 like this. Oh, that was really nice. It was out or it was whatever, and then get that in my head and go home and figure out what they did. And I just add that to the book of tricks. That's the whole thing. It's just a bunch of tricks. It's just a bunch of nonsense.
So just by observing other musicians, you're figuring out ways to make it work for yourself. Do you think you could do that with other instruments now that you pick up after that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I steal things from other instruments for not the same instrument that I'm stealing it for. You know what I mean? Like, as a keyboard player, I'm drawn to saxophone solos. As a soloist, if I'm taking a solo, I'm thinking like I'm thinking in saxophone a lot of the time. Like, except on organ, there's a lot of multi-note stuff, but like, that's just the way that I'm thinking in my head. I'm voicing those things. But on guitar, I'm thinking like a keyboard player. I'm thinking of those voicings and trying to be more melodic as a player as opposed to more erratic. Just that's what I like. That's what I have in my head.
Yeah.
But I don't often think in guitar patterns so much. It's art,
Yeah.
It's work too. And I'm guilty of treating it like work when it's work at times.
Yeah.
And if you're not putting any life behind it, it's not going to sound good. It's not going to sound as good.
So when you're gigging solo by yourself at these venues around town, it sounds like you gig a lot, like every night. Just about
6 to 8 gigs a week.
That's awesome. Do you have some residencies?
Some, yeah, they come and they go, but yeah.
What's hot right now? What are your residencies?
I do Tuesdays at the Post every week.
Okay.
From 6 to 9.
So Jake Furr?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it Jacob Furr?
Jacob, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I do. The restaurant Boomer Jacks owns like 15 restaurants in the Metroplex.
Yeah, 20 or something.
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
Every Wednesday they have music, and it's the same guy. The same company owns all of them, so it's the same booking agent for the whole thing. So he just kind of rotates everyone around in a big circle. So I do every Wednesday.
The one they just built over off of 820 close to White Settlement in Lake Worth, they don't play live music out there, do they?
They do.
Okay. Maybe they just started, or I've just been missing it.
Yeah, it's just Wednesdays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just Wednesdays.
So do you make the full 15 restaurant circuit?
I do all of them, yeah.
Oh, damn.
There are a couple of them that I won't do because they're so far away from where I live.
Okay, yeah.
Like there's one up in Murphy, and I live in Lake Worth, and that's way too far.
And Boomer Jacks, if I'm not mistaken, is just DFW, right?
I have no idea.
I don't think they have locations anywhere else. Probably because of your work ethic. I bet that has something to do with this, but a listener question was, you have a knack for connecting with a lot of amazing artists, both locally and nationally. How are you connecting with these people? It sounds like you're working your way into a lot of different circles.
Yeah.
And that's grabbed people's attention enough that they would ask me to ask you. But
yeah.
What are you doing to get these people's attention, or did we already nail it with your work ethic?
Well, I think that's part of it, is being out and being seen.
Right.
I don't want to use the word relevant because that doesn't really matter, but just your reputation will precede you in that moment.
Sure.
If you're introduced to someone or someone thinks of you, if someone's looking for something or whatever. But also I've been fortunate in that I have known people who in the past were at the same level that I was at, that experienced a lot more success than I did, and kind of helped me out in certain ways, by making certain introductions that, I recognize that some things have fallen my way that certainly didn't have to in my career, but I'm not upset about that, I guess. But you know what I mean? Some of it is just that. And like I started playing with Robert Randolph in the Family Band a couple of years back. And we became friends on Instagram.
Okay.
And he messaged me on Instagram.
Now, how does Robert Randolph and Joan Taylor, how do they fit together?
I don't know how they fit together. I met her when I was playing with him.
Okay.
On a cruise.
Okay.
That we did.
I'm going to have that story because that was something else that came up. Whenever you brought up Robert Randolph, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But apparently there's a story there about y'all connecting on a cruise with those two.
Yeah, so we did this cruise out in the Mediterranean. It was one of those Joe Bonamassa blues cruises.
Did you have to pay for this?
No, I was
Oh,
playing.
you were featured on it. Okay.
I was playing with Robert Randolph.
Okay.
Yeah, he was one of the headliners, and so we went out there and did that. And Joanne Shaw Taylor was on the bill as well. So
that's incredible.
We just kind of got to know each other.
How did you land that gig? Through Instagram,
Through Instagram, yeah. He messaged me on Instagram, and it was kind of happened really quickly.
That's phenomenal.
He was looking for somebody. They were about to do an album release tour, and yeah, it just worked out. I just happened to be available for the one audition gig that he put me on. He flew me up to Colorado, and we did the Blues from the Top and Winter Park Festival. And then he sent me 10 songs for a 90-minute set, which is not enough songs. And then we only did like 3 of them. And the rest of it was other stuff that I hadn't heard.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, he just came, patted me on the back, said, "Hey, you're a good follower."
And that was the tryouts for
that was it. Yeah. And
cruise.
then that was the tryouts for I played with him for like 6 or 7 months.
Damn.
And that was the first one.
That's very cool. Are you going to continue to work with them?
He's doing his own different thing right now. He's on tour with Zach Brown, I think, right now, actually opening.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but
big names.
Yeah, yeah. He's doing his thing out there. But
so, how long is this cruise that you went on the Mediterranean?
It was 7 days.
Okay.
We started in Barcelona, and we went to Monte Carlo, and then we went to Malta.
Do you get to enjoy yourself and take pictures and get off the boat and all that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So you're only obligated, or we were for this cruise, we're only obligated for 3 shows.
Oh wow. Okay. So you're not working your butt off
that time. No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not hardly working at all. I don't have because they set the stage up for you. I don't have to. You know what I mean? You don't carry equipment around.
Right.
So you just kind of walk in and the stage is set up and you start playing. So it's minimal effort for sure. But yeah, I got to know a lot of people on that one. And Joanne just happened to be one of them.
And when did this take place?
2019. It's the fall of 2019.
Is that the first time you've gotten into like a vacation type gig like that, like a cruise or something? That
was the best one for sure. That's not the first time, but that was the best one. Going to the Mediterranean.
What's the worst one? Carnival?
Yeah, like fair gigs are pretty awful.
Did you do one?
I've done plenty of fairs. Yeah, county fairs. Yeah,
oh, okay. But as far as like going out on a cruise, have you ever done that before?
That was actually my first cruise experience, period.
That seems like that would probably be the coolest damn thing ever.
It was. And I went on a cruise after that where I was just a regular person on the cruise. Yeah, so I went the following year, I went on a cruise, or maybe even later on that same year, and I was amazed at how much you had to pay for that I didn't have to pay for.
Oh, yeah, it's robbery, right?
Yeah, it was crazy.
I haven't been on one, but I've heard stories. Like, you pay for the ticket, and you're like, oh, that's not that bad. And then you realize you have to eat and drink, and all that costs an obscene amount of money.
Well, yeah, the eating doesn't, but, like, if you want anything other than water,
right,
it does, and that kind of gets old. But when you're a musician on a music cruise, you have a 24-hour lounge that's just stocked with everything you want, food and liquor and whatever.
So if we're going to take a cruise, I'm going to need to be your roadie.
Yeah.
All right. Another question from the fans. What's your focus as far as Fort Worth is concerned? Do you have some goals here in Panther City, or are you just trying to wing it and see where you fit in with the community, or do you kind of have a focus that you're heading towards?
That's a good question. I like it here. I've been here for 11 years, and there is not really a scene for the thing that I do. The more R&B side of the funk world.
Do you feel a need to kind of cultivate that here?
Yeah, I do, and I've tried a little bit here and there, and had some success with it in certain instances. But I've had other ideas of ways to try to bring the community together in that particular way, because I've seen that there is a market for that. Where it exists for me right now primarily is over in Dallas, where that is. If you want that and you're in DFW, that's where you go. And I would like to maybe try to build off of that momentum, because a lot of people go, musicians specifically, come from Fort Worth to Dallas to do that.
Yeah.
And there's no reason we couldn't get together once a week and do that here.
Right.
You know, so that's something that I've thought of and just had in my head, I guess, bouncing around in my ideas in my head. And I've talked with the guys at Tulips, and they're interested in getting involved with that as well.
Sure. You just had a gig there, didn't you?
I have one coming up on the 1st, June 1st. I'm opening for Ron Ortiz.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with Ron Ortiz.
Ron Ortiz, yeah, he's a fantastic artist out of L.A.
Oh, wow.
It's like lo-fi kind of soul with horns. It's pretty cool. He's a great singer, great guitar player.
Sounds like you guys will pair well.
Yeah, I've got a nice little 4-piece band put together, and we're going to do some newer original stuff.
Retrophonics. The listeners want to know if you have plans for another Retrophonics album.
Yes, actually, I'm about halfway done with a new Retrophonics album.
Okay. When did you start that?
I started it last summer.
Okay.
And it's gone through some iterations and some alterations and some just general editing, but we've done, it's going to be 3 instrumental and then 3 with lyrics.
What is this instrument I saw a picture of? You got looks like a keyboard that you're blowing air into.
Oh,
what is that?
Yeah, it's now that you've asked me, I've forgotten what it's called. Wow.
That's okay. Take your time, and I'm gonna.
Well, you do exactly that. You blow into it, and you play. It's got reeds, and you play it like a keyboard.
I'm gonna grab the remote. There it is.
The melodica. Yes,
the melodica.
You blow into it, and then you play it.
Okay, so
keyboard.
These are not very common, right? I've never seen one.
I mean, it's not uncommon, but it's not everywhere.
So for our listeners, if you're looking at the YouTube version of this, I think the camera might be able to pick it up. But it's just got Chris jamming out on a tiny keyboard with like a crazy straw, a very durable crazy straw coming out of one end, and he's blowing into it.
Yeah.
So
it kind of sounds like a harmonica.
Okay. And you said it does have reeds in there.
Yeah.
So
then there's a strap on the back, so it's attached to my left hand.
Right.
I'm playing it with my right hand, blowing into it. And it only makes a sound when you blow into it, so it's like a wind instrument almost.
It's like a cardio workout.
It is, kind of. You can't do it for super long.
Right. Now is that Cam there on guitar?
Yeah, it's Camden. Chris Hill on the drums.
You got to tell us something about Cam. Apparently he's pretty incredible. Where'd you dig him up at?
Yeah, so one of the drummers that I've used the most in the last few years, Luke Calloway, who was on the Retrophonics record that we did. We needed a sub for a gig. And it was kind of an off gig, an off night, so it wasn't a big deal. And Luke said, "Hey, I know this kid," and he was 18 at the time. Mm-hmm. He's only 21 now, which is absurd. He was 18 at the time. He said, "I know this kid," and I was like, okay, it's kind of, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's not that kind of gig where it matters. And so he came in and he did it, and I was just blown away. And he already knew a lot of the material already before I had sent it to him. Like not because like the covers that we were going to do, like a lot of Stevie Wonder and the complicated stuff. He just already knew it.
Well versed.
Yeah, from his schooling. He went to the Booker T Art Magnet School in Dallas, and they taught him jazz and R&B and all that stuff. It's not
School of Rock stuff, is it?
No, it's like a high school that's, instead of being sports centric, it's art centric.
Huh, okay.
And so they get all this extra time and extracurricular time and availability to music and art, visual art and dance and all this stuff for high school age kids for all 4 years of high school.
Have you dealt with more people that have come out of that?
There have been a ton of people that have come out of it. Erykah Badu came out of it. I think Nora Jones came out of it.
Okay.
A ton of Dallas musicians have come out of it that are like, top drawer.
Yeah.
Musicians around town. It's not an uncommon thing.
Now you got one playing with you.
Yeah, and he plays with us, for sure, as much as he can. So since then he did the gig, and I was just blown away. I mean, it's not because he was so young, but because he was just good. He was good for regardless of how old anyone is.
Is he part of Retrophonics?
I would consider him, yeah, to be a core part of it for the most part. He can't do all the gigs, and, you know, that's okay. I've got a pretty wide net of people that I use that know the gig pretty well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to mix and match anyway.
Right.
You know, it keeps it fresh for me and for everybody. But, yeah, he's been with us ever since, and through the writing and doing the record. And he's unbelievable. It's exciting to see and keep an eye on, you know, what he's going to do.
Which way do you like doing it best?
I prefer to do it with the band.
Yeah.
Over solo, you know, just having people to interact with. Because oftentimes on solo gigs, people just kind of check out and they don't pay attention anymore.
Right.
And it just gets real boring. And I'm not sad about it. You know, I don't care. Set and setting is so important. If it's not the right time, it's not the right time. It's unimportant to me. Because I'm going to get paid the same way either way. If I'm on a patio, like, it doesn't matter. But having someone on stage to at least just look at and acknowledge that we're doing this thing at the same time, goes a long way.
I make it a point every time we've got something. It doesn't matter where we're at. If we're at a bar, people are more focused on the music if you're at a bar. But if we're at a restaurant, whatever the situation is, whenever somebody's on stage and they're playing at the end of their set, I clap.
Yeah.
I make sure I clap. I make sure I clap hard and loud and make a big deal out of it and try to get some other people to do it too.
Sure.
And especially when I walk into a room and nobody's paying any attention to the musician. It's a little heartbreaking. But I talked to, do you know these people, Joe Savage and Matthew Broyles? And they both talked about that. And they got to a point in their music where, you know, they understand that they're part of the scene, but they're not the scene. They're to be heard, but, you know, they accept the fact that people are there to, like, have dinner, you know.
That's exactly it.
Or whatever.
That's exactly what I mean by set and setting. You know, there's the old anecdote that has been going around for years. This amazing violinist took this $1 million violin into the New York subway.
Saw that.
And no one was paying attention, and he was playing his ass off, and no one cared. And then he played that very night, and it was this sold-out concert.
And the tickets were like $150.
Yeah, and he was the headliner, and, you know, whatever. And so set and setting is so important. So you have to know that, like they said, echoing that, you know, some people are not there to be entertained.
Right.
And you can tell who that is, and you have to just know how to just play for everybody else or nobody.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's nobody, and that's okay. Because you're just there. It's either you or it's the music through the speakers, and you might as well be you doing it and getting paid. Right. You know, in that moment. But you can also look at it as a moment to try something out. If no one's listening, who gives a shit if you mess up? You know what I mean? So, like, I'll take a song that I'm working on, maybe something new, a new idea, and I'll change the key dramatically to a new key, and just to see if I can sing it in that key. Sometimes I can't, and sometimes it's better in that key, and I had no idea that I could sing it that way, or it'll lead me to a new melody idea. Yeah. You know, and then I'll play it again 20 minutes later in a different key and see if that's a better key, you know. And so you can treat it like that too. You can treat it like it's a walk through the mud and be upset about it and complain about it all the time. Or you can treat it like, I'm sitting here and I'm going to make some money, drink a couple of beers, and
do what I love.
Yeah, well, you know, that's part of it, but that in that moment, that's not what it is. Yeah. In that moment, it's work. It's just like anything else. I'm at work, and I just happen to be sitting in front of a bunch of people who are having fun with their friends, and no one's paying attention to me. You know what I mean? That's what it is in the moment. It doesn't feel like this thing that I love.
It could be very isolating, I'm sure.
Yeah, so you have to figure out how to treat it that way and talk yourself out of it, because have been plenty bad in the past about slumping my back over and just into the mic for an hour. You know what I mean? When no one's listening. I've done that. I'll catch myself doing it, or someone I know will show up and video me and, you know, put it on Instagram or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I was totally checked out. Yeah, I was totally checked out on that tune. So, I don't know. You just have to, it's an ongoing battle. You just have to figure out how to compartmentalize the whole thing. Yeah. There's a difference between gigs and shows.
Now, have you played for a room like that, just gigging, and it didn't seem like anybody was paying attention, and then you closed out your set, you're getting ready to leave, and had somebody come up to you and say, hey, I was listening, I love your music, you've got a new fan?
Sure. All the time. You never know.
Yeah.
That's why it's bad to check out and slump over like I used to do. That's why it's bad. You know, you're alienating the possibility of a new person coming in for the last 20 minutes and enjoying themselves. Yeah. You know, enjoying it more. Yeah. That happens a lot. People are uncomfortable to clap and make noise if they're the only ones. Like you said, if you're in the back clapping, oftentimes other people will do it.
Oh, yeah. Almost every time.
You know, almost every time. And it's maybe they were waiting for someone else to do it. Maybe they're too shy to do it themselves, you know. Exactly. So then they can come up and... The weirdest time is when that happens and no one pays attention, no one says anything, but you end up with like $300 in your tip jar. And you never saw anyone go up because you feel like everyone's been ignoring you the whole time, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I guess I was doing okay. Yeah. No one said anything. No one bothered to tell me that. But.
It's just kind of a social thing, I think. Like, I don't know. Like you said, like they're maybe embarrassed to clap or fill out a place or whatever.
Yeah, I think people just don't want to draw attention to themselves a lot.
Have you seen any musicians lose their shit from a gig where they thought they were being underappreciated?
Oh, absolutely.
A storm out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Story time.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Got a good one?
I'm not going to name any names.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, for sure. There was one
Tell
guy.
me later, though.
Yeah, there was one guy that came through. I remember he came through Fort Worth, and he's this tremendous singer, but he liked to sing incredibly soft and then incredibly loud. But there was this dynamic that was part of the thing. Yeah. And so he needed it to be quiet and people to listen to the dynamic of the thing, or it didn't work. Right. Because if they're talking over him when he's singing quiet, you know, the whole thing falls apart. So he stopped mid-song and was just started berating everyone. Like, why the fuck are you here? Why did you get in here? Why'd you pay to come in here to talk over me? Like, you knew that this was happening. Like, why are you talking over me while I'm trying to sing? Like, if you want to talk, get the fuck out.
Where were you when this happened?
I was in the back of the room, and I was just wide-eyed.
And you came to see him play?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I was just... I had no idea. I had never seen anybody do that, like, in person. You see that on YouTube or whatever, you know, meltdowns or whatever, but you know, I've never seen it in person, and it was... And you could hear a pin drop after that. A bunch of people left because they didn't want to get yelled at. Yeah. But a bunch of people stayed, and you could hear a freaking pin drop in that place.
I think I would have stayed just to see how that played out.
Yeah, it was weird. From then on, it was tense for sure. But it kind of added to the drama of the show because it was a pretty dramatic performance. Huh. Wow. It was really good. But yeah, he was not having it. Damn. He was not having it. That's and I don't begrudge him for that, honestly. Because it is annoying. Yeah. You know, I've been invited plenty of times to do opener sets for people in a listening environment. Mm-hmm. And when it is a listening environment and you're in the middle of it and you're doing the thing and you're focused and you're in your flow state and you're doing your thing, and then someone starts chattering and breaks the whole concentration, it's a real thing. You know, and it doesn't have to be that, because you can play on a restaurant patio, but you're not doing the same thing is what you're doing for the listening crowd. Right. You're focusing and you're giving it way more attention and detail and performative gumption. Yeah. So I forgot where I was going with that. I don't know how we started that.
Well, I think you did a pretty good job of painting the landscape there of what that's about, why a musician should not get upset if, you know, people are just being people, and, you know, the other side of it, how awful falling apart on stage could be.
So we started out with that. Okay, that's right. So we got to the end of the show, and it was just never addressed ever again. And then I saw him again about a year and a half later at a different location in Fort Worth. He didn't do that, but the crowd didn't do that either. So they didn't really give him a reason to do it. But I was kind of hoping that he would. This didn't seem like an uncommon thing for him to have done. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Damn.
There's been artists that I've played with, bigger artists, like if I've subbed or done a tour with them or something, a couple of them that have gotten, like if maybe not enough people showed up to the show or the tickets were light or maybe the crowd's not into it, that they'll kind of check out on stage and just kind of mail it in the rest of the time. And then you're up there with them and you're it's like dragging an anchor. Damn. Trying to get them to do something to win the crowd back and not just give up and give them nothing. You know, it's frustrating to be.
I mean, can you imagine being like, you know, especially if it is, for whatever reason, tickets are light that night, maybe the marketing wasn't there or whatever, but your real fans showed up. Right. They were so excited that you were in their town. Exactly. And they showed up and they're standing there and you're just mailing it in. That's awful. You probably lost some of your most loyal fans in Wakatachi, Oklahoma, or whatever.
It's the total opposite of how you should treat that.
Sucks. I hate that.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's hard when you're expecting something, but you have to not expect anything.
Yeah.
Expect nothing. Hope for the best, but expect the worst.
Yeah.
You know, and then you'll land somewhere in the middle.
When I'm having a rough day, TikTok is really weird. It will figure out where your head's at, and it will start showing you only the thing that it thinks you want to hear.
Yeah.
And so when I'm having a rough day, it starts feeding me these motivational things.
Yeah.
And I guess I was having a rough day a few days ago, and it was some guru talking about, like, you don't need to have any expectations, because to have an expectation is like getting mad at the rain whenever it starts raining on you. You can't control that. You don't have any control over that. So
right.
If you don't set these expectations, then you'll never be disappointed, and that's the key to happiness. Thanks, TikTok.
I can't do it.
Well, I got sucked into it. I boycotted it for a long time because I'm like, what is this weird social media platform? And then the girlfriend at the time, she pulled up TikTok, and it was puppy dogs and dolphins, and an hour went by, and I'm like, what are we doing? We sat on the couch flipping through TikTok for an hour.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, absolutely not. No, that is weird. It's crazy that it did that to us. Two grown adults sitting in a dark living room scrolling side by side, just looking at this dumb shit.
Yeah.
It's incredible what they can do to you. So anyway, now I've got TikTok, and I watch a lot of videos now.
Cool. Puppies and dolphins.
And people hurting themselves on accident, you know.
I got on it at the very beginning of it when it wasn't a lot of people on it yet.
Yeah. Before it was cool.
Well, it wasn't cool, and it's not cool now, I don't think, still. But I was trying to make content. Like, I made maybe 20 videos and put them on, you know, redoing videos with other people and, you know, all the things. And I just never got any real traction on it. Yeah. And then I just kind of gave up, and I put it out of my head. I deleted it, put it out of my head. And then like a year later, it became this thing, this colossal thing that people were getting
ridiculous. In on. Yeah. I wonder if there's any more room in the tank for another social media platform, or if, like, as a society, we're getting so fed up with this shit that we're going to stop putting attention towards these platforms. Like, will they continue to build more of these, like Instagrams and TikToks? Or
of course they will. They're already doing it. They're already developing whatever the next thing is going to be.
But will people get behind it?
You know, they get behind it for a minute.
Don't we have enough on our shelf now?
Yeah, but how much stuff has come and gone?
Well, MySpace. That's the one. That's the only one I miss, because you could have music on your page. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, MySpace. Yeah. A lot of stuff has come and gone since then, though. So, I mean, I don't know. I think people are spread thin, but there's a contingency of people who recognize how unhealthy that is.
Can we just have one and get rid of everything else? Can we just put everything in one place? Something that actually works? That'd be the move.
It's impossible.
You're probably right.
Wholly impossible.
Paul and Cari Smith from Late to the Station. They say that they want to work with you on a third album.
Yeah, we had talked about that.
Yeah,
before. Yeah,
how's that looking?
They just need to let me know when it's happening.
Or y'all just like in passing, y'all might have mentioned that y'all would work on that together.
Yeah, we discussed it. I'm in. Just let me know when.
They've got 2 albums out right now, and we connected with them, I want to say 4 months ago or something. I've seen them play live twice now, and they're just the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Love them both. And that's going to be pretty badass to get the 3 of y'all together working on an album.
Yeah.
Now, how does that work? Do you think that y'all will get together and every track on that album will be the 3 of you? Or
don't have a clue.
Not an idea at all.
There's a million ways that could go. I play and produce a lot of records for people. Play on and produce. And it's different every time. You know, everyone's got the level of involvement that they want to be versus the amount of control that they want to relinquish over creativity. And you kind of live within those boundaries.
So they'll be driving the bus, and you'll just let them tell you where to sit?
A lot of the time, that's how it works. Yeah, like I'll just kind of come in, and if I have an idea or, you know, want to change an arrangement or change a chord or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up, and if not, if they don't want to do it, we'll trash it. I mean, I'm here for it. I like doing that. You know, helping people just kind of flesh out their ideas. I play so many instruments that it's helpful to be able to have the knowledge and the vocabulary and, you know, the playability to create something really quickly, even if it's just a demo. You know, get an idea down that it's a cohesive idea. It's not just strumming it into your phone.
Right.
You know.
So on the production side, do you have a studio that you do all this at?
I have a home studio that I run, that I do overdub type stuff. Guitars. I do all of my own like satellite recording for keyboards that I do. Satellite recording would be like I have studio friends in Nashville, LA, you know, various studios, and they're like, oh, I need a keyboard part real quick for this demo. They'll email it to me. I'll play it, email it back. They put it into their thing. Yeah. So I do a lot of that, and then I do the Retrophonics record. I mixed and mastered in there myself, and then
all from home studio.
Yeah. I tracked it at a friend's studio, and then he just sent me the raw files, and then minimal overdubbing on that one. We played it live.
Very cool. And
then I did the mix and master at home, and then I've done just kind of various studio work for people. Like I do some voiceover stuff. I'm getting into voiceover stuff. For like what? Just ads and whatever. Shit. Yeah, there's some websites that people advertise jobs. They need voiceover jobs.
Okay, I'm interested. How much can we make on this?
It just depends on the job.
Can we make a full living on it?
A lot of, well, I mean, maybe if you do it enough and you get enough portfolio, you never know. Yeah, you never know. It could be a decent form of side income for sure if you
There's
get into it.
A voice actor I ran into. He did the it's an incredible like 4-minute long Airstream commercial, and he did the full like voiceover work for that one. Sounds good.
I bet that was a good one.
Yeah. But that I need some work from home kind of stuff because I don't want to do my job anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
So maybe I'll take some voice classes, some voice acting classes, and then get busy on that.
There you go.
Lots of ads out there.
A lot of work out there.
They're gonna need some voices.
I get like 10 emails a day.
Really?
Job listings. Yeah, they're not all right for me, but they're there.
So if you get 10 in a week, how many do you think you'll take?
Like 10 a day. I hardly do any of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the ones that's
there.
So you find somebody like, oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, or just like if I need some money or I'm trying to do whatever. If I'm super busy playing, I don't think about it.
Yeah. Something to fall back on.
It's just there. Yeah, it's not going away. There's new jobs every day.
Do you think a lot of people during the COVID 2020 got into voice acting?
I imagine some people did. I mean, yeah, who knows?
Solid gig.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, absolutely. I have I don't know if my voice is unique or not, but it's there.
It's good.
I don't know.
It's a good voice.
It's there. You know.
We'll have the listeners chime in. Let us know how much you like Chris Watson's voice.
Yeah, please. I need that for my ego.
Yes. We'll do a poll.
Yeah, great.
Well, Chris, we're at an hour, man. I appreciate you being here and giving me some of your time. I tell people all the time, like I'm blown away that people will let me do this with them. Yeah, on a whim because I'm just a podcaster. So
sure,
I didn't deserve and you didn't owe me anything. So thank you for doing this.
Happy to, of course.
Next time you got a single or your album that's coming out, if you'd like to come on and talk about it and how that turned out. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Maybe we could get you, Paul, and Cari in one room, and that'd be a really badass recording.
Yeah, talk some music.
All right, Chris. Thanks again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And we'll see you for the next episode.
All right.
A very sincere thank you to our guest and friend, Chris Watson. This dude is doing big stuff. And fortunately for all of us, we can find him at the Post Tuesday, 6 to 9, and Boomer Jacks all around the DFW area every Wednesday. Just a really chill dude, easy to talk to, good company, and I hope we get to do more with Chris in the future. And I need to come out and see you play live, man. That's going to be good stuff. Don't forget, you can find him on Instagram. Look for Chris Watson Music. thank y'all for bumping this show up, man. I'm watching these analytics, and you guys are showing out. The listeners are making Fort Worth Roots show up in some pretty special places. 2 years ago, if you Googled Fort Worth Roots podcast, you wouldn't get any. I mean, you'd get stuff, right? You'd get Fort Worth stuff. You'd get podcast stuff, but you would not be able to find Fort Worth Roots podcast. Now, and I'm not going to say we're plastered all over the front page of a Google search if you do Fort Worth podcast, but if you search Fort Worth Roots podcast or Fort Worth podcast, it will pull up now. So that's something, and that's because of you guys. Every time you listen to a show, when you subscribe to one of the channels, whenever you hit us up on any of the social media platforms, it really does help. The 100th episode release party, I'm going to get some information together for you. It's something I'm working on. So just put that in the back of your mind. I think this is probably going to happen around mid-August time frame. We got some time. It's episode 87, so 100th episode release party. Yeah. Try to make that work out where it falls in line with the actual scheduled release for the 100th episode. So, all right. Thank y'all for being here, and I'll see you next week. Peace.